Okay, so that's 1 second now. And, okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the 74th week of React Knowledgeable. If you happen to tune in earlier, you might have seen some weird live stream going on, and we discarded that live stream already because it was probably testing. So if you are seeing me speaking now, right, you're at the right place. And we've also tweeted the newer live stream URL out, so hopefully people can find us. And if you are coming in from the YouTube channel, you shouldn't be missing this also. Well, okay, so anyway, this is the 74th week. Once again, shouting out to Shopee for hosting us all the time, and also Engineer SG for providing all the supports and, and guidance on video recording and live streaming. We do have a COC. Be nice to everyone. Do not record our live streaming. Don't post advertisements. Also, we are constantly harassing people to speak here, especially if you are our colleague. We are getting better and better at harassing people. I have personally harassed like 5 people today. Hopefully we'll have some more interesting talks and new faces in the upcoming months, but I just want to let everybody know that we are constantly in the lookout for you to share interesting things you find as a React developer. Moving forward, Singapore CSS happening June 3rd. Although it's 10 days left, but we're still looking for speakers. So please learn CSS and tell us what you learned. Also, you should check out number 50, that's half 100, in this link. Our friend created a nonsense project that the sharing I'm doing today also share a similar vibe with, I hope so. So anything else I want to say about Singapore CSS? Well, yeah, tune in on that day. It's an amazing meetup. Right, so today we have two short sharings. The first one, our team lead Chen Chen has encountered an issue with Preact and trying to solve the bug that I'll tell you a little bit later on. And then after that, I have a nonsense side project I want to share with you. Right, okay, so to introduce you a little bit more about our speaker today, if you're from Shopee, Chen Chen is the tech lead for all of us. Not tech lead, the team lead for all of us. He is also the most substantial backer of this podium. So a lot of support from him. Please applause for him. We cannot hear you, but please do it now. And also, he has given this talk, Why Another Framework, earlier on. It is on our channel. It is actually the most popular video in our channel. And today he is looking into Preact. So I'm gonna give it up to Chen Chen as well as Tiger, who you've been familiar with if you are tuning in lately. So yeah, I'm passing over to you guys.
All right, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, cool. So, hello, React Knowledgeable. And the first time sharing remotely feels a bit strange. There's no feedback, no whatever. But yeah, let me just start. I think before my shares my screen, I just want to. It's just such a coincidence. I think last time when I shared in React Knowledgeable, the topic was why another framework. And yet this time I'm talking about another framework.
Another framework.
Yes, but this time it's about the Preact. So Jianbo, do you know what is? Yeah, tell me what is Preact.
Smaller React.
Okay, smaller React. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, I think in case whoever doesn't know what is Preact, so I just go to their website. So it is advertised as a faster 3K alternative to React with the same modern API. So yeah, so basically it's like a mini version of a React. We recently started a new project and it started targeting mobile. So we are thinking, why not give this a try? Because we all know React is not small. And this one looks quite promising. Maybe we can provide a better performance to our users. So yeah, we decided to give Preact a try. So I think the key part we really worry about is that although it's advertised as a React alternative, but it's just 3K, kind of really covers all the current use cases of React. Will we hit any special edge cases? So that's our biggest concern before we decide to use Preact for this new project. And fortunately or unfortunately, yeah, we already met once.
Oh, only one.
No, actually, they are small. So I'll share this one first, and in the end, I can share with you another one we just found out maybe this week.
Wow, another one.
Yes,
Cool.
another one.
That's amazing. Like for our complicated use case, so we found only 2 incompatible cases.
Yeah, I would say it's already a pretty decent job considering they only use 3K to replace. I think React is probably 30 KBs, something like that. Yeah, I think without the more delay, let me just show you the bug we encountered, and it's quite interesting. All right, so let me share the code. Can you see my code?
I can see your code.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, let me explain my setup first. I think it's quite typical. So imagine in a project, you have a page. Typically your page is a class component, and you have some master. I imagine now let me just comment out this one. You decide to render your page. So the page is pretty simple. You just render one header, which is example page. So yeah, if you switch to this page and if you refresh, yeah, this is what you see. It's a bit boring, but yeah, you just see the example page. Pretty easy.
So do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think what makes this page a bit special is that do note that we somehow need to use this component will mount method. I know it's not suggested, but we're still using it. There are many reasons. For example, we need to run something both in client side and server side. And
yeah, makes sense.
You know, at server side, they will not call component did mount. So that we have to, yeah, basically we have to do something when the component will mount.
We just have to use that.
Yeah, so you see when now I render the page directly, it renders correctly. And you will see this basically my component will mount method will be called properly. Yeah. So this will be the case if we render the page directly. Let me explain the complexities here. So by right, usually you imagine this is a big project. You definitely will not load the code of all your pages all at once. You apply some code splitting and you start to lazy load part of the pages. So that's why I try to reproduce this behavior. So I create a component called the lazy page by utilizing the React lazy. Yeah, this part is a bit hard to understand, but you can just basically ignore it. It basically says that I will try to load my page and I will mimic this async behavior. So the page will be loaded after 1 second.
1 full second.
Yeah. And of course, the lazy will not be complete without a suspense. So I have to handle the fallback nicely. This one, I'm just doing something very simple. I just decide to render a loading indicator. Yeah, that's the fallback. So pretty easy setup. You have a suspense and you want to lazy load your page and your page will be loaded after 1 sec. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how this one looks like now. Yeah, so you can focus on the left part first. I do a refresh, you see the loading, and then the page render. I do it again, you see the loading, and after loading, the page will be rendered. Basically, I think our lazy code splitting works well. All right, but yeah, there's a big part here. You see something missing? Yeah, the
crazy stuff is gone.
Yeah, the log is gone. I think let me just do a quick switch so that you understand the difference better. Yeah, in all the method, this unsafe component will mount the function will be called. But once I switch to our new way, yeah, this function will not be called. Yeah, do you have any idea why?
So if we're doing data fetching in that function, that means no data is actually fetched. It's never called.
Yeah, so that's the tricky part. So I think it's not a very safe console, but it's more like some DOM manipulation or some API call. So in that case, the page will be incomplete.
So does it have something to do with like how we patch those events?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well, because this code is already very simple. I feel there's very rare chance that I did something wrong at code level, because it's just maybe less than 20 lines, and now my gut feeling is that there should be something wrong at the framework level.
Yeah, this time it must be the framework.
Yeah, I think it could be the framework. And I think the good part of using a library that is only 3 KB is that you can read the source code easily. Unlike a React, I have to search a huge code base. So yeah, so now actually I'm right inside the Preact code base. And yeah, I think I know the problem is that the unsafe method is not being called. So I'll just do a very stupid global search called unsafe. And it doesn't give me a lot of result. So I just ignore all the tests. Pretty much you just have to meet me with one file. Yeah. So I just click into that file, and let's see how Preact is patching this unsafe method.
Oh, define property.
Yeah, so looks okay. So let me try to understand this. There's a function, so you're passing a proto. I assume this will be a component. So it says if your component already has this unsafe method, they will define a property on the component. So the key, I think, will be the one without the unsafe prefix. Meaning, if you have unsafe component will mount, you will actually define a property called component will mount. But once you try to get it or set it, you actually set or get on that original unsafe property.
It's on this, right?
Yeah.
So that means this proto argument, could it be a prototype?
Not sure. Maybe we need to see where.
Let's try debugging.
Yeah, I think need to see where this is being used. Oh, I think, yeah, I think so it's being called here. Let's see what's this function. So this function is called a vnode function. So it's actually something called a vnode, and type is the type of vnode. So I assume in the React context, maybe the vnode is referring to something like a React element. So the type is actually the type. Yeah, I think it's okay. I think most likely it's patching here. Maybe let's just set a breakpoint and see what's going on there. Yeah. So I think I just switched to my console, and I know the function is called, the file is called render, and it's the compatibility version. So yeah, I think it's the correct one, and I'll just set a breakpoint here. Yeah, let's see what's going on. Yeah. All right, so it stops here, but the type is H1, not what we are looking for. Deep, nope. I think we have to keep going.
Loading and lazy
I think
and page.
Should be this one, the page. So I think they need to patch the page here. Let me just step through the code. And oops, it just skipped the whole block. Why? Let's check.
So it's skipped.
Yeah, why is skipped? Type of type equal to function. Yes, all class components are function. So
they do set a flag after they patch everything, right?
Oh yeah, so there's another flag here. I think we can ignore the flag one first. Let's see, understand the if condition. So type of type equal to function. Yes, all class is a function. And if the function has a prototype, basically it's a class. I think that's their way to detect whether this type is a pure function or is a class component.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think our page is definitely a class component. Type of type is function, and it has prototype. So that must mean this one is set to true.
Who set it to true without calling it actually?
Actually, it's only set inside the code block.
But just now we all see that it's not called, but somehow it's true.
Not sure. Maybe let me just redo it again.
Let's
Maybe I
try
missed out another page component. It's been called the second time. So let's go through this slowly. H1.
Okay, Chen.
Yeah.
Zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Oops, sorry. Let me zoom it in.
In the console.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
I think looks better now. Maybe even larger, slightly larger.
Yeah. How about this?
Okay. Looks good.
Okay.
Now.
Cool. So yeah. Nope is the D. Next one, lazy.
Lazy. Suspense.
App.
Okay.
We are close.
Fragment. Component. This is.
I'm not sure. Maybe, but it's definitely not a page. Lazy.
Lazy again. Oh, this one is already loaded because you see the loading right here. We're actually loading the page, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this time definitely is the first time we see page.
Yes.
Oops.
Oh. So just now it's the lazy, the suspense one, right?
Yeah, I think the suspense block and then the lazy and then finally it goes inside. Now we are landing on the page one.
Okay. Could it be set by other? Couldn't be, right? Because they only set these .patch lifestyles. For the page, it's definitely not set.
Yeah, it's definitely the first time we see the page. Yeah, it's quite strange why it's true. Maybe we see what's going on in this type.
So
let me just collapse all the things.
So there is no attribute called patch life cycles already. Because it's not there.
There's no patch life cycles, but it says it's true.
No. Does it check like some other stuff? Like
then there's no choice must be in this protocol, right? So
I remember when I learned JavaScript, some old master tell me to always, like, if you want to check your own property, make sure you are checking the has own property, right? So there must be some other properties that it's actually looking at.
I see. Then let's look at the protocol, because if it's not here, it will be here. So,
wait, what?
Yeah, I think
this is component, right?
So if you think backwards, it makes total sense now. Because you see just now when we go through this, you see a bunch of fragment, and then you see the component.
Yes.
And that component is this component, right?
The component is provided by Preact, right?
Yeah, but it's a bit weird that why you are really rendering that component. Have you ever done something like import component from React and then you render that component?
No way, right? There is no render function.
I'm not sure. I think there is a render function, by the way. So maybe we can try after this, you import a component from React and just try to render that component, see what will be rendered. So I think that's the, I think we definitely find a direct cause because it's set. Of course, the page is not being patched, but the component or the base class page is trying to inheriting from is being patched already. And we have seen, based on our stack trace, the component is actually being rendered.
So whoever is setting this flag, we shouldn't set in the first place. Like, because if you're setting for the component, you're setting for everyone, right? Because it's on prototype.
I think this could be a bit hard for us to visualize. Let me try to write this down. So assume you have a React component class. Yeah, and I have a page, and I'm extending. extends from the React component, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, is that a typo?
Typo.
No, I just copy and paste. It's not defined. Try to do this again. Maybe I just call it a different name. Yeah, hopefully this time I just call it my component to avoid any naming conflicts.
Oh, because they're in the scope.
Is it because I'm in the debugger? I think so.
No.
Let me just quit the debugger and do this one again. I think should be because I have a base component. Yeah, now it works.
Yeah, okay.
So what does the extends do? I think it was just before the day we have ES6, we are using function for everything, and everyone had to understand how the prototype inheritance works, right? So basically, when you extend a component, it literally means you will set the prototype of my component to be base component. But another thing is I have to make sure the constructor is pointing back correctly. So you have to set the constructor to yourself. Yeah, that's how we're doing a class extension without the extend keyword. So go back to our source code. I think it makes total sense now because actually we are extends the component. That means, of course, the prototype of my component or page will be base component, right? So let's go back to our issue. I think now we kind of understand the issue better because it is actually in the inheritance chain. And oh, I think I made a mistake. I think we haven't used prototype for a long time. I think this is the confusing part of JavaScript is that this prototype means it's more like a prototype factory. When you create a new component from this my component, you will try to use that dot component to initiate a new object. But actually, there's a hidden one. It's not suggested to use. If you call the proto, you see that's the hidden one. So the proto will pointing back to the base component. Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I think let's try to recap this again. So I'll set a stop point. Yeah. Let's just stop at the component ones. So now we're at the component. We'll try to, of course, it's function as prototype is not being patched. So just go inside and you do set this property.
Oh.
Yep. And let's just fast forward to the page. Oops, I think I have to do this again. Oops.
Component.
Yep, page. So page. You see, page is extending the component. That means that underscore proto is actually pointing to this component. And we have set it.
And the flag is true.
Yeah. I think that's
so actually this type dot patch life cycles is not found on itself. So it looks up on its prototype chain and found it on a component.
Yeah, I think the tricky part of it's not so intuitive. It's kind of the detail is buried behind this extends keyword because it's not so easy to think about what exactly is going on when you are using extends. So
so the solution for them is to only check their own property, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once we understand this, we can fix this right away because the only reason this is not working is because you are, it's just bad code, I think. You should just change to something like
so make sure that this is its own
Check on
property,
yourself.
and then we check the value, right?
Let's have a try. Let's have a try. Yep.
Yay, nice.
Yeah, I think it's working, right?
Yeah, it's working. Shall we submit a patch?
Yeah, we can do that. But first, we have to understand why. Why you are rendering a component?
Yeah. Why? Why do they patch the life cycle on a component?
Yeah, I think the only way to find out is go to the suspense code. Because I think the only difference here is the suspense. Unlikely to be lazy, so I just
Oh yeah, because when you render other stuff, they also patch on component, right? Do they?
No, I think
No, right? Only when you render suspense, right?
yeah. I think it's quite a self-explanatory. So you have a suspense. If you are suspending, they will create an element which is component but has no children. If it's not suspended, they will not render your callback, and they will render your children under the component.
Okay, so this time they're actually patching the component itself, and that causes the problem.
The real component.
Okay.
I still have no idea why you are using that literal base component in a framework.
It's kind of like a side effect, unexpected side effect when you try to patch something for the component that everyone extends to, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Can I just use fragment? Should this get the job done?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I feel changing here is too risky. I really don't understand why they choose to use this component. But changing here sounds like safer. I think that's what actually they intended, right? They want to. I
believe that's what they intend to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to find a bug. I think the lesson learned here is that although we are being so used to or being abused by using all the ES6 syntaxes, but under the hood, it's still this old prototype chain, and we have to understand it properly so that we can figure out what's going on eventually. And even in the framework code, they're still referring to all the prototypes.
Yeah, that's a very good lesson on prototype.
Yeah, I think that's this bug about. But just to remember, in the beginning, I mentioned we found another bug this week.
Oh, another bug.
Yeah. So this one, I won't go through the detail, but I just share this very briefly here. Let me ask you a question. You know the reference in React, right?
Yes.
So you can pass a function as a callback to the ref, and your ref will be called, right?
That's the older version, right?
Yeah, that's the older version. Now you can use ref, but alternatively, you can still pass your function.
Yeah.
So do you know when that callback will be called? When?
When you create element, immediately after you create element, before it's dumped to the screen.
Oh, that's different from React, right? So I checked on this actually, and from the docs, you see here, callback refs, and let me just try to find the
access.
Where is it?
Before.
Yeah, here you go. React will call the ref callback with the DOM element when the component mounts, and call it now when it's on mounts.
Oh, so when it mounts, but guaranteed to be up to date before component did mount. Okay.
Yeah, so that's another bug we found out, which we will not go through the detail here. But basically, we have some assumption that when your ref callback is being called, the DOM element is already mounted, it's already on the screen. So we will do all the kind of DOM manipulations there. But however, this behavior is different in Preact. I think we need to be very careful. So they have no guarantee when your ref callback is being called, the DOM element is flashed onto the screen.
So it's likely that you're operating on an old element.
No, it's like you get that element, but it's not flushed into the DOM tree yet. You only get that DOM element in memory.
Oh. So like what I said earlier, it's after it's created, but it's before it's inserted to the DOM tree.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I believe when I was young and learning React, I run into this kind of issue. Like when I try to find parent, it's not there because it's not in the DOM tree. When I was using Ref, maybe they're mimicking some old behavior on React. I don't know. I can look into it.
Yeah, I think that's also interesting. So second one, we don't know how many more bugs we are going to encounter down the road, but definitely quite interesting to solve them and to understand what's causing them.
Yeah, but for the ref, for the behavior difference on this ref thing, right? Did they mention in the document?
Yes, there's a Preact issue.
Oh, it's a Preact issue.
It's not an issue. Someone raised an issue and they say basically it's by design, it's a feature.
It's not guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed. They suggest you to run your logic in component did mount. That one will be guaranteed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. I think that's just the two interesting bugs I'd like to share with you and like to share with the audience. Yeah, I think that's all from me.
Cool. Well, thank you for the sharing. That was a very mind-blowing 20 minutes. Actually, we do have questions from the audience. It was a question from very early on. And if you, for those of you who are watching, if you have questions, please start asking now. So earlier on, Adrian asked, create element, component null, and create element child. Is it lazy evaluated or not?
Yeah, I think it's a bit hard to interpret the code create element now. Are you referring to my code or the way Preact works in general?
I think it was a question asked very earlier on, so I feel it was probably referring to Preact in general.
I see. I think it's a good question. I think you have to rewrite the code a bit so that you can understand this thing better. So let me try to do one example here. So let's say you have a page and inside your page, you'll return some component. And imagine you have another app which will render the page. So it's a bit hard to think about this when you are writing JSX. Like we do write something like create element, it will be a lot easier to think about that. So let me just correct this. So the React will walk through the tree layer by layer. So definitely the top layer will be your app. So when you are executing the render function of your app, all you are doing right now is actually only creating an element or vnode that matches your component type, that is page. But at this level yet, it will not execute any render function of your page. Only when you finish traversing this layer, you go to the next layer, you'll start to create that element for your component code. So it's not really lazy evaluated, but it depends on your order. So it's kind of, I would say it's shallow. It's shallow. It's only create one level at one time. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, cool. Any other questions from the audience? I think given how like mind killing this sharing is, I think maybe we need some time. So don't worry, we will have the video here, so you can always spend some time on your own and play around with this code. And you know how to find us. You can always like ask questions. If you're at Shopee, it's easy for you. If you are outside, you can always ask questions in the GitHub issue that we published.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks again for sharing this, and thank you, Tiger, for hosting this also.
Thanks for
okay.
having me.
Yeah, thank you, Kawai.
Of course, always. Right. So moving on, I also have a short sharing. So today we have two short sharings. Okay, let me start sharing my screen now. Okay. Okay, so let me make sure that everything is okay. Can I get a okay check from Ken? If you say okay, I will start.
It's good.
Okay, cool. Cool. So let me get started. I have a side project that I'm working on. It's semi-relevant to my work, but this is something that is happening this week. So long story short, I'm looking out for a logo, and I'm looking out for a logo that feels like a cat in a box. Don't ask me why. That's like let's treat that as a given. So I started looking for such a logo, and I was happy with this. It's cute, it's sweet, it's cozy. But the problem with this is when you put that into a logo, it becomes a little bit too small. You can't really see what is going on there. And so at some point of time, I also became, I also remember this Schrodinger's cat thing, and I found a lot of resemblance with this. And it also looks cool, but it doesn't feel like the same vibe as this project that I am working on. So I'm also a fan of pixel art, so maybe I draw myself. But once I open this page and start drawing, I realized this is probably too difficult for me. So despite how much I like it, I probably cannot proceed with this option, and I probably won't have the time to be an artist here either. So then I'm kind of like, I ran into the AutoCAD from GitHub. This one, everybody is familiar. It's simple enough, and what's even better, it actually shares a similar mindset with the project that I'm building. So I was happy with this. Although I kind of wanted to be still be like a box, so more square-ish than rounded. And then I saw this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep going with this. This one is easy. It still resembles an AutoCAD. I mean, at least I can still identify an AutoCAD from there. And it's like a box. So I was happy with this. And it became the logo for my project for like a day. Before to be honest, I simply got bored. So then it was also the time when a friend of mine sent me this screenshot. I do not know what website is this, but it looks like someone is ranking us in terms of GitHub contributions for the past year. I believe I'm on there because I do tiny commits. So one line of code, I also put up a commit. That's why I have 1,000 commits over the past year. But that led me into this. So it's my GitHub commit history, and everybody is familiar with this. And you might wonder what's happening for the recent half a year, right? So if someone really is going to have an accurate estimation, you have to provide a service to take into consideration both your work and your extracurricular contributions. So it seems to me that my brain power is actually quite constant. I put it here, I don't have enough power to put it like elsewhere. But anyway, together with this and that simple enough cat that I feel like maybe I could even draw with CSS, that kind of inspired me to build this. So let me show you this first version. The idea is I want to build this script where you can you can draw your logo by like 1 and 0s. So you can click here to edit, something like that. So this initial version is really very simple. It's like 50 lines of code, and all of us here are React developers, so we should be it should be pretty easy for us to understand. So what you do is in this logo component, I'm a pet namer. I render a grid. So thanks to CSS grid, that can turn what I initiate as simply an array, and can render that into give it a two-dimensional layout that can look like a chessboard. And for each of those grid, it is a cell, and the cell can be either turned on or off, and then it will have a color. And the on-click event is handled by the parent, because the parent kind of has a bigger image of the whole grid. And so the update grid callback is computing the updated grid that is recording all this information. And at the same time, I'm having a tiny save function that uses your local storage, such that if you reload this page, it's gonna keep your previous design. So that was the initial version. So you will not stay there very very long before you start to improve this. So on the second, it's actually not the second night, it was actually the second hour or whatever, I wanted to have some kind of feedback when you mouse over those grids. So how would you go about implement this? And there are multiple options. Like when initially I was quite stuck with the whole React thing, so I was thinking, well, maybe it looks like it is simply changing the color of the same cell. So why don't I handle this in another similar callback that I can attach to the mouse enter and mouse leave event handlers. And once I tried doing this, right, I realized there are more situations than I had to consider. Like when you mouse enter, you're overwriting the color, of course. Then when you mouse leave, you have to set it back to the previous color. But maybe you click, or maybe you did not click, whatever. But you need to take care of everything properly, and especially if you're using hook and you wire your brain around. I'm pretty sure you can do it properly, but it was like at night, and I did not want to fight with that. So I was thinking, well, maybe I can have some kind of special state that feels like taking over. So if I'm taking over the state, I can render that prioritized color. And when I'm not taking over, like when mouse is out, then I kind of fall back to the previous state. So that actually sounds like a better plan. I do not know why. It simply felt easier. But then I realized, wait a moment, I do not have to do it with React. I can do it with CSS. So eventually I went. So if you're familiar with CSS, the CSS anchor, the HTML anchor element has a CSS state called hover state. There are actually more than that. It's hover, active, focus, visited, all of these. That does exactly this. So you will have your CSS pseudo selector, and what you do is you select the hover state and you give it another color. And don't judge me on the important thing, the important flyer, because previously I'm lazy, I'm using the style on the HTML attribute. So so yeah, that is the second iteration. I kind of like the gold color. and so I was happier with this. And so when you have a toy like that, you will start drawing with it, right? So so I was worried I was getting fired by building this instead of real features. So it will be my face if I get fired. But I did ship real features, so please don't fire me. Then I was hearing about my teammate leaving because of personal reasons. Then I was drawing this crying face. And I have friends who are better artists than I am. So she suggested a smaller face. Then I got space for a tail. So when you start drawing things like these, you want to share it with friends. So initially, what I did was I screenshot these and I sent to friends. But we gotta be better than that. So my third iteration, this is a very straightforward one. Instead of using local storage, I have then changed to using query. So what happens is if you edit this and if you hit save, you will get this ridiculous string. And then you can share this with your friend, and your friend will be able to see like this thing that you're drawing. So that works better, except that like now if we calculate this, this is a 16 by 16 grid. So if I compute correctly, that's a 256 length string in your URL. I mean, well, people are copying and pasting, you're not typing, but still it kind of bothers me. So is there any way to shorten this? So I was trying to figure out a way to shorten and recover this encoded information in the URL. So actually, this encoding in URL is actually pretty common across many services. Like for example, post inbox. This is a hash, but but that one is only used as an identifier because there is more data to store the reference to the actual content. But in our case, we don't have any extra storage, so we really need to still encode that amount of information, but we just want a smaller, shorter string. So my initial very crappy implementation was my initial plan was, well, I had this 256 length string. Why don't we break them down into smaller strings? I somehow picked 8-bit strings. I'm not sure whether it's a good decision or not, but I just went with it. So if we break them down into 8-bit strings, we can map each of the 8-bit strings into some kind of dictionary, right? And so that effectively would shorten the string from 256 divided by 8. That should be 32-bit string, byte string, if I calculate correctly. So, okay, so what that means then is I need a dictionary that can represent from 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 up until 8 ones. So that's 256 characters. Okay, so what you do now is, that's what I did. I roll my face on my keyboard, and then I press Shift and roll my face on the keyboard again. And then after I've done this with like all the keys I have, I ended up with a dictionary of like 90 something characters. Then I'm running out of characters. So then how? Then as a Chinese native speaker, you will never run short Unicode strings. So so you can see my dictionary. I'm also learning Japanese, so I'm using the the hiragana, and even if you add all the hiraganas, it's not gonna be enough. So eventually, you still need the kanjis. So I wrote my initial implementation out. It was quite complex actually, but unfortunately I removed the code already, and it worked briefly. Why? Because after you get the shortened string, it is beautifully 32 digit, 32 length, and then you copy it over, and then you hit enter on an address bar. It got URL encoded, and the string becomes like super long with all those like special characters in between again. So that didn't work so well. But along the side, I built that. I was learning a bit more like interesting utilities from the string JavaScript string object also. So it turns out when you do parse int, if you can see my cursor here, let me enlarge this a little bit. Let me also close this if possible. Never mind. Okay, so if you see here, parse in takes a string and is intending to parse it into an integer. In the second parameter, it's something called a radix. What it means is I want to parse the string from a binary representation. And after you get this one, which is 63, you get a number, you can call then again to toString. Normally when we call toString, we do not give it a parameter, but turns out that this parameter is also the radix. So you can turn this into a string with a specific base in mind. So with these utilities, you can effectively write a string shortening utility that will shorten binary string by converting it into a base 36 string. So, so how long will that shortening give you? If you reason about this, when you have a binary string, your string will be 1 digit longer when you scale up by a factor of 2. So 2 to the power of 10 is 1024. That's an 11-digit binary string. And on the other hand, if you have a decimal number, it will scale up. It will add 1 digit only when you scale up by a factor of 10. So you'll realize that this won't be an exact match. 2 to the power of 10 does not exactly equal to 10 to the power of 3. But how you do the estimation is you do the upper bound. So or you do it by estimation. And in our case, our base 36 string, we will not get 1 further digit until we go past 36, which is a 5-digit or 6-digit number in base 5-digit number in base 2. So if that is taking you a lot of brain power to reason about, there is an easier way for you to do this. So what you can do is, this is wrong. This is actually 73. But anyway, what you can do is, this is the largest 8-digit binary number. Actually, no, this is the largest 8-digit binary number, and you parse that into a binary number, and you run toString and convert that to base 36, and you get a 2-digit number. That means for any 8-digit string, you are guaranteed to be cut down to 2 digit. So with that in mind, we should expect our shortened string to be much shorter. So now we get the idea, but the problem is, if we do it this way, it doesn't work. Likely because the integer overflow. So when I wrote it this way, it was really neat. But when you run shorten on a 255 digit, string and you run recover, you'll get 2 different strings. So that didn't work. And then eventually, what we do is we split those into chunks of like smaller digit. So since we're handling 8-digit and 2-digit, for 8-digit binary string, we're converting it to 2-digit base 36 string. So I wrote 2 extra utility functions that that handles this. It turns out you can break a long string into chunks of 8 or chunks of certain number by this regex also. Yeah, so that ended up becoming my util functions. So the shorten takes a long binary, splits into chunks of 8, and map over those chunks, parse it as an int, convert that to a 2-digit 36 base 36 string, and you pad the start in case it is 1 digit, so that you are guaranteed to get 2-digit strings snippets, and then you join them. And then recover is the exact same process but in the reverse order. So after that, I can share this with my friends. And my friend Huijing, who is a much better artist, drew this See No Evil, and I'm pretty sure this is becoming her new pet. So so now you can also draw with this, and you can share with us like the other pet that you're drawing. So that was my side project for the past like 3 days. So what did we learn from here? Well, initially it was a miniature example of a parent control component that we talked about the previous week. And then it reinforced me again that although I'm now a React developer, I'm handling all the like cycles and hooks all day long. But as a web developer, we should still learn CSS and still learn JavaScript. Got gold in it. So that is my sharing now. Okay, I'm also the host, so I'm supposed to ask people whether there are questions. Okay, so
Yeah,
are there?
I think there's a question from Engineer SG.
Yeah.
So will this be a sticker?
Good idea. That's really a good idea. Okay, let me think about this. So yeah, Engineer SG has long been supporting us, and as we are knowledgeable, we all know that we have a sticker thing. Maybe you'll go into our next speakers limited edition speaker stickers. So yeah, we'll have that in mind. And speaking of this, we're also always encouraging people to speak. So if you speak at RK, you'll get a limited edition speaker sticker. Okay, so we're 7 p.m. sharp. So I hope you all enjoyed this week's sharings. And let us know if you have more interesting topics to share about. And if not, let's call it for tonight, and I'll see you next week. Okay, ending can